In my previous discussions with service members and particularly officers, I would hear about complaints over parts not arriving on time, long deployments, and in my more recent discussions with those officers, the number one issue that they raised to me with concern, often unable to speak publicly for fear of the type of retribution that Lieutenant Colonel Lohmeyer faced, they say that your stand down regarding extremism did not help our military, it hurt the military. And I want to share with you that perspective, that it caused service members to otherize one another, it impaired group cohesion, and interesting to me is that I've heard those sentiments most frequently from units that are majority-minority, that this was not particularly helpful. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to maybe share with us more specificity regarding the definitions that seem to be a challenge when Ms. Hartzler was asking questions. How should the Department of Defense think about critical race theory?
Could I make a comment, Secretary? I'm sorry.
Well, I'm very limited on my time, General Milley.
Well, I just want to make a comment. The feedback
I know, but
I've gotten
I've asked the question to Secretary Austin.
Top Pentagon leaders firing back at Republican members of Congress questioning the Defense Department's diversity efforts.
How should the Department of Defense think about critical race theory?
Here with the department, we do not teach critical race theory. We don't embrace critical race theory, and I think that's a spurious conversation. And so we are focused on extremist behaviors, and not ideology, not people's thoughts, not people's political orientation. Behaviors is what we're focused on. And one final point, and thanks for your anecdotal input, but I would say that I have gotten 10 times that amount of input, 50 times that amount of input on the other side that have said, hey, we're glad to have had the ability to have a conversation with ourselves and with our leadership.
I would like to yield some of my time to General Milley because I know that he had some comments that he wanted to make when Representative Gates was talking, as well as Mr. Waltz, about a similar subject of the stand down and race theory. Would you like a minute or so to comment on that? Do you remember what your line of questioning or thought was there?
Sure. First of all, on the issue of critical race theory, et cetera, I'll obviously have to get much smarter on whatever the theory is. But I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university, and it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that? I want to find that out. I want to maintain an open mind here, and I do want to analyze it. It's important that we understand that because our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, they come from the American people. So it is important that the leaders, now and in the future, do understand it. I've read Mao Zedong. I've read Karl Marx. I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with understanding, having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend? And I personally find it offensive that we are accusing the United States military, our general officers, our commissioned, non-commissioned officers, of being, quote, woke or something else because we're studying some theories that are out there. That was started at Harvard Law School years ago, and it proposed that there were laws in the United States, antebellum laws prior to the Civil War, that led to a power differential with African Americans that were 3/4 of a human being when this country was formed. And then we had a Civil War and Emancipation Proclamation to change it. And we brought it up to the Civil Rights Act in 1964. It took another 100 years to change that. So look it, I do want to know. And I respect your service, and you and I are both Green Berets. But I want to know. And it matters to our military and the discipline and cohesion of this military.
Joining me now is Congresswoman Chrissy Houlihan of Pennsylvania, who is an Air Force veteran and a member of the House Armed Services Committee. Your question is that one that prompted the chairman of the Joint Chiefs to give that passionate response. And I wonder, Congresswoman, why did you ask the question? Why did you feel it was necessary to give him your time, to yield your time so that he could expand on a response to really two members of Congress?
Sure, and thanks for having me. I think his answer speaks for itself. I'm a relatively new member of Congress. I'm given 5 minutes every hearing to ask questions, and I expect that when I'm asking a question that I would get an answer. And I'm frustrated by the way that we conduct ourselves in the body, sometimes asking questions that we don't want an answer to, that we don't allow time for an answer for. And so I think it's appropriate that when General Milley clearly had an opinion and would have liked to express it, that we give him the time to articulate that. And I'm grateful that he articulated what I thought would be his opinion so eloquently and so beautifully.
Did you think that there was a reason why Republicans wanted Secretary Austin, who is the first black defense secretary, to be the face of the response to questions about critical race theory rather than Milley, who, I mean, obviously he's a white man. He was also appointed to be the chairman of the Joint Chiefs by Donald Trump. Do you think there was a reason why they wanted Secretary Austin to be the face of the response to this question?
You're not the only one who's asked me that question, and I would be saddened to think that that was the reason why. I understand that Secretary Austin and General Milley were also over on the Senate side doing a similar conversation. Frankly, that conversation here and there was supposed to be about the budget, and that it was a similar way of sort of separating General Milley from Secretary Austin and asking Secretary Austin to be accountable to those questions. And it would be sad if that were because of race.
Why, can you talk a little bit about, as you see this issue, the politicization of the military? In this particular issue, it's the politicization of the officer corps of the military and the young cadets who will become the General Milley or the Secretary Austin and what they're being taught.
So what General Milley said so eloquently was that it's really important as a member of the military, whether an officer or enlisted, to first know your enemy, both foreign and domestic, and also to understand the people that you serve and that you protect. And so I think it is very sad that we are in some ways trying to politicize the very place that is supposed to be apolitical, which is our armed services. You know, when I served active duty, you were not an R or a D whenever you were involved in some sort of a mission. You were just a member serving. And I think it's really a tragedy that it seems to be a strategy on the part of many Republicans to divide us in that way.
This response was to a line of questioning not only from Matt Gaetz, but from Congressman Michael Waltz, who is a Green Beret, is retired. But on Gaetz's part, after this hearing, he tweeted taking specific aim at Milley, and he said, quote, "With generals like this, it's no wonder we fought considerably more wars than we have won." A note that Gaetz himself has never served in the military. What is your response to that tweet?
Again, I'm incredibly disappointed by many of the members of the body of Congress who use their bully pulpit, their platform, their very precious time to antagonize the people of America and to disparage those who wear the uniform on their behalf, to allow them to have the opportunity to speak in that way and in that tone.
Congresswoman Chrissy Houlihan, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
You're welcome. Have a good day.